This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Chelsea Hart.
So, why you wanted to be a pastor?
I just had things to say, and I was like 17 in the church, and I had all these ideas. I used to just bury myself in scripture all the time. I really liked the book of Isaiah. Um, and I wanted to speak and say things, and I had ideas to share, and I approached some of the elders of the church, and I was like, I had this really good idea. My sermon was using the imagery of baby turtles.
You wrote a sermon in the age of 17?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
And my sermon was using the imagery of baby turtles, hatching, and then, they crawl towards the sea, but before they crawl to the sea, they have all these vultures and animals picking them off and killing them. And, it was about faith. It was about, just going towards the end of just having faith that you'll get there.
So you talked about faith. I know this is also faith.
And they wouldn't let me say it. It was a really good sermon. It was a really good idea. I still actually have the sermon on Facebook.
Delivered?
Yeah, no. I have like the text of it. Like I shared like a, remember when you could share notes on Facebook? Remember when you could share
I just remember you can type tons of things on Facebook.
And you could share. This is like really aging myself here, kids. When you could share.
You already told me your age, so.
When you could share notes, like you would like a Word document, but on Facebook. But they wouldn't let me share it, and on.
Why?
I don't know. Just didn't think I had things of value to add to the church, I guess.
It wasn't that, hey, you haven't been to seminary, you haven't been mentored.
No, they let people talk all the time. They let kids talk all the time.
Okay.
Anybody in the church.
Yeah. Now?
Like I wasn't, nobody thought that I should be put up there. And I just felt very stifled. I felt like the control and power that be just didn't want to listen to what I had to say. And then I just really started struggling like with my own identity as a queer person, but I couldn't put it into words as a young person.
Did you feel any call? So I don't know this tradition. Did they use the language, or you grew up with this language of the conviction of the Holy Spirit or God speaking? Different people use differently.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Was there a greater mission involved that I'm going to change people's lives?
I just think I just felt
healing and hope.
I just felt I had a perspective on scripture that I could add, and for whatever reason, like they just even like, because before the actual pastor speaks, like people can give like a thought, like anyone in the church, and that's what I wanted to do, but they just really didn't encourage women to be leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the women's Bible study, and just like one thing I really could not absorb, could not compute, could not, like, no matter how many times you said it, it never sounded good. Submit to a man. Fuck that. No. It's just like, and this lady, like, bless her heart, she's not a bad person. She's happy. Bless her. Go you, girl. Do your thing. But she's like looking at me, like, submit to a man. Submit to your husband.
But you were not in a relationship, were you?
Huh?
You were not in a relationship.
No, I was like 18, and I'm like listening to this lady like, submit to a man, and I'm just like, and it's just like, I know culture says that we shouldn't submit to men. I was like, yeah.
Oh, we shouldn't or should?
Like, it feels so it feels contradictory, because like that's just unequal. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just
so let's talk about the submission idea
to a man, not to God.
No, in this case, like, I would want a woman to submit to me. Hypothetically, we're talking about. So, what does that mean in terms of it's
I kind
really
of stopped listening
you
after that.
to people that sure, but right now
Just
because I
because.
was like I never made a big deal of it. I was like, okay, and somehow we are accountable to, for example, we are accountable to the civil law, state law, federal law, pay taxes, pay our bills. So that's some sort of accountability, which I was thinking maybe it's submission, right? But what did you think in that particular church and its context? What was submission like?
To like, if your husband says something and you disagree with it, that you just have to go along and agree with
Such
your
as
husband.
what?
Like
Hey,
something
honey,
about,
let's eat pizza tonight.
or like about kids, or like about how to, spend money and stuff. Like it,
So there's no democracy. It's like whatever he
you can
says.
add like you can add something in, but at the end of the day, it's his choice. I'm like, bitch, do you
I,
like you give
yeah,
away your autonomy. Like it's a partnership. Like a
mhm.
marriage is a union
Partnership,
of
yes.
two equal people. Like a child, when a man and a woman make a child, that child is equally as much from their mother as they are from their father. You cannot make a child without equal chromosomes from each parent. So
So
why in the societal sense must women or men be more or less in a partnership? I just don't get it. I really, really, really don't get it.
so when do you was also because you grew up in a tradition where scripture was taken very seriously. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Alaska, so that's why when I
yeah.
said, "Honey, let's go and get pizza," I don't know if people in Alaska talk like that or not, but probably not, right?
Just not small stuff like that, but like life stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Like to submit to a man to decide for your life. Like, what if your husband's abusive? Like,
yeah,
what if your
definitely.
husband's toxic? What if your husband,
Or
like,
unwise about certain things,
yeah, yeah,
making decisions.
and you're supposed to be his helper, his, like in Genesis, God says, I give you this to be your helper, which is the woman.
Woman actually is a helper. You know in what way? In my case, so I always think that, and I've noticed that in all productions and otherwise too. If you have a woman on your team, she would rarely miss the details. Men usually would.
Yeah.
And that's the funny. Yeah, I know it's funny. There was a cosmetic surgeon in Manhattan, and oh, by the way, he is of Iranian background.
Who?
There's a doctor, a surgeon, cosmetic, this Botox and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And because you love Iranians, that's what I'm saying.
Iran
I'm
is
not
the
gonna.
nose job capital of the world.
I'm not gonna say his name. So I once noticed that he had a syringe and he was to inject whatever fillers or something. So he was talking and going like this until his assistant, who was a female, she was making sure it doesn't get to the patient's eye. And this is it's funny, but it's true. A lot of things that men
Men.
miss out,
Men.
women don't.
Men.
I don't know. I mean, popular culture might disagree with me, but I think there's a strength to adding female to your team. So when I think of an
I
helper,
just think it's a very unhealthy dynamic to expect one person to have more power and more control. I mean, there are 37 states in America where child marriage is still legal.
what is the age range?
Can range anywhere from 14 to 18 depending on or 14 to 17 depending on the state. But yeah,
And what's like in Alaska?
I actually don't know our laws, but like there's less states where it's illegal than where it is legal, and that's for religious people.
Mm.
So you're talking about teenagers being married off to men, girls who are not developed. Your brain doesn't finish developing until you're 21. So you're talking about girls being married off to men, uh, literally commanded by these environments to not question, to just be meek and mild and go, ooh, honey. I just think it can be very toxic. If you have a great husband, good for you. If you have a loving husband, good for you.
But what if you don't?
What if you don't?
Yeah.
What if you don't? What if
And what
he's
if, like, this is an
wonderful?
extreme example, bad example. What if someone sells you into sex slavery? Will you keep submitting? If you, the way you are using, or the way I'm understanding this term.
Yeah.
So that's why I actually never
Well,
thought
I
like
will
that.
say, as for the church I went to, they actually do work with girls who are trafficked. So that's one thing I'll say about just that line. I will say that my old church did donate and help and support uh mission groups that work in places like East Asia and Thailand and Vietnam, where these traffickers will do it just what you said, will come like,
Mhm.
oh, we're gonna bring your daughter to a nice school, oh, she's gonna work and she's gonna bring you money. And or the parents are so poor and so hungry that they actually sell their kids. And so these girls are sometimes taken at 4 and 5 and 6 years old, and they get sold into sex slavery, where middle-aged white dudes will come for sex tourism and fuck children.
Mhm.
And these girls are there. I will say, at least for my church in that regard, my church worked with really good mission groups that go to these places. Not only, they're not just, what's beautiful about this group, I can't remember the name, but I do have something that one of these girls made. What they do, what this group does, is that they go to these areas, they take these girls who are, they always say, I'm 18, 12, right? So they take these girls, they put them through school. They get a full education because they're taking like 4 and 5. Some of them can't read or write because they never went through school. So they'll give them an education and teach them a trade. And that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing, because most of these girls have no skills.
Yeah.
Because they've just been abused and sex trafficked their entire life. So what this group does is they put them through school, educate them, put them through high school, all da, and then they teach them an actual trade that they can sell, so that they don't end up, I mean, obviously, yes, there's a religious aspect, they take you to church and stuff, but they're actually teaching you tangible life skills. And I actually have an elephant that one of these girls made after she got free. I have an elephant that she made, and it's in my room. I've had it for like 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So these kids.
So I will say, in that regard, my ex-church was on it. Like there was a line. There was a line. Like sexual. Like nobody in my world growing up, that wasn't my problem. That was not a thing that my church accepted. So, like, I'll criticize where I can criticize, but like, I'm not gonna like say that was my experience. My church was very, very, very like red line on that, for sure. And that's, to this day, I think that is actually still one of the missions that they support, is rehabilitating girls who have been trafficked.
So these girls are in Asian countries?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
Because I went to Vietnam this past year, and I spent a month there in Hanoi, and I just got connected to a church because I met a gentleman there. We hit it off. He's from, I think, Denver originally. Has lived in California, and so their church is actively involved in that, but I did not know much.
Yeah.
So
it's actually a really beautiful organization, because it's just not enough that, obviously, they're teaching the Bible. They're going like and giving them the skills and a life and a second chance, which is beautiful. And that was actually something really positive that my ex-church did. Other things like just submit to this man and don't question him. I'm like,
maybe they developed such a rigid understanding of that, right? Because the same Bible is read and understood all of the spectrum. I understand. I've seen that church, actually, not that church. There was a church in one of the Midwestern states, and whenever they'll had some sort of meetings, the business type meetings, not worship, and women were supposed to. They kind of knew because I was the one who was rocking the boat. I was not a good guy in their mind. So women used to sit in the second or third row, and men in the front.
Yeah, it depends on the denomination because
It was non-denominational, but I think these non-denominational churches have some roots in Baptist, or they would call Bible-based churches, right? And um, so they go to that extreme. I understand the way I said. When I think of a helper, I think of a different thing. It's a great addition to have a woman.
Yeah.
But if helper means a servant, and that's a little different, right? Servant is not the word
Yeah,
properly
like what
used
if
here,
you're
but you will understand it. You
yeah,
live in
like
the
what
UK.
if your husband is really toxic and you're just supposed to like submit and take it? Like, I'm sorry, that's just insane to me.
I think this submission needs to be defined by local churches in the current context. Roman Greco world, women did not have an identity. Women did not have a say.
Yeah.
Women were known because of their fathers or husbands. So this is not that thing. You have your own passport.
Yeah.
You have your identity. You pay your own taxes.
Yeah.
Right? So what does submission mean should be, I think, readdressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because see, that's the thing. You can't really take out the Pauline letters, epistles, of its context.
Yeah.
Because then, if you want to go and become that literalist, then you should. This is a funny thing. Like I had the same church I was talking about. They were like, "Yeah, we just believe whatever the Christ and the apostles taught," and then my struggle with that was and still is. Then you should go on different countries on a boat. Because these guys, the senior pastors and all, they were going first class air tickets to India and Africa and preaching there. We could get to save them, and which is a lot of money, And I don't think that was wasted of money. First of all, if you think God has called you, you should be ready to embrace difficult moments. Why? Because your leaders did. Jesus Christ did. Paul did. Peter. These were not like people living 5-star hotels and drinking
that's
expensive liquor.
the prosperity gospel. That's called the prosperity gospel, and that's a very certain subset and a growing subset of the American church.
In which the most prosperous person is the pastor.
Yeah, and that's not how any of the apostles lived. That's not how any of Jesus's followers lived. They all died horrifically. The only one that didn't die was John, who got exiled to an island where he ate hallucinogenic plants and wrote Revelation. Like he died. Yeah, he like he was like
John of.
He had visions.
Patmos. That island.
John. Yeah, Patmos. Yeah, and the rest of them. They died penniless. Yeah. They died horrifically, like splayed out, like by the Roman Empire. So, like you're telling me, and he said it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. You know, so that's definitely a certain subset and a growing subset, and it's actually gotten. I remember when Obama was running for president. My mom clocked it, what was happening. She was clocking our community, because our community voted Trump like for every time that there's been a Trump presidency on the table.
It's only been 2 times.
3 times. He ran 3 times.
Oh yeah,
he lost to Biden.
Yeah.
But
no, I meant to say he won 2 times.
I know, but like they voted for him every time he ran.
Gotcha.
My mom clocked when Obama was on the table. She clocked where it was all going. That people were moving away from, because as I said, we're in a small town. The church is everything. It's the community. It's the home builders. It's the, do you need food? We'll bring you a meal, people. And my mom clocked that the community aspect of that, when Obama was running, she clocked that. Oh, we're moving towards like groupthink, like the groupthink, the prosperity gospel, the nationalist gospel, like God and country. First of all, Jesus, like, he was not of this world. He kept saying, "This is not my home. My home is in heaven." Like, he repeatedly said, like, give unto the world what it, like, give unto your country what is due to your country, and keep it separate from God. Like, my mom clocked that's where things were moving years ago, because you already had people within the community that believe that stuff, who were able to get, because everybody wants money, everybody wants nice things, everybody wants an easy life. So it's easy when you're working class to then have this, because you're working class, your community is church, and then you have this pastor telling you, it's just like, well, if you do this, and this, you'll get nice things, and who doesn't want a little comfort when you've worked hard? So it's easy to get. My mom clocked it when Obama was on the table. Like, we're moving towards materialistic, fascistic. Those people already exist. Like Pat Robinson. What's his face? So many of them. So many of them. And I think a lot of communities were already like that. But
did you have a favorite preacher? Televangelist, if you had
televangelists? Oh my God, they're all so ridiculous.
No, when you were 17.
When I was 17, they all went nuts. They all went nuts. They really went nuts. We used to listen to the Christian radio station. We used to listen to the Christian, Kurt Cameron. I remember as a kid, he was in the Left Behind series. Do you remember the Left Behind?
I have seen one.
That was a big one.
Oh, the guy with this kind of hair.
No. Left Behind. You remember that movie? Yeah. I remember when that came out. Like, that was a big thing. But he's gone nutso berserko, anti-LGBTQ.
Isn't he the same guy who started Pureflix? Well, that's a different guy. There's I don't know, we can talk about these two channels. He started his own ministry. I don't know which preacher. We could just cut out Netflix and Pureflix. Okay.
Let me see what preacher I liked. No.
You wanted to be a pastor.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you. But when you wanted to be a pastor, were you thinking of more going through formal training and having you just have vestments?
Do you want to know? No, we don't wear vestments. We just wear nice clothes. Okay. I actually, when I was like at church camp.
That's why you dressed up like this, more like a pastor?
No, this is my model outfit. This is my.
Lent season is coming.
That's Catholic though.
No.
Lent?
Yeah.
That's
Episcopal, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, we all celebrate.
Yeah, I'm not Lutheran. I'm Protestant.
Right, they all are Protestants.
I know, but like those.
I understand the kind of church you came from, but this is Lent color.
Is it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we have like Palm Sunday already ready.
Oh, Palm Sunday we do.
Yeah.
Palm Sunday we do. Yeah. So I really wanted to be a pastor, and I kept writing and doing stuff. I begged my mom. I begged her for weeks. I want to go to Bible college, Mom. I want to go to Bible college. I want to go to Bible college. I want to go to Bible college.
Like to do formal training?
Yeah, to Bible college. And like, I begged her. I bothered her. I harassed my mom. I harassed her. And finally she's like, no.
Because we
are singers.
We're sinners?
Singers.
S-I-N-N.
Singers, yeah. She was more religious than me. And she just looks at me, it's like, you're not going to be a preacher. Because you're an entertainer. That is what I raised you to do. You're not going to be a preacher. And my mom is more religious than me. And God bless her for that, because I didn't go to Bible college. I went over to the UK instead and became a comedian. And The rest is history.
Yeah, I know that. That's like long. I have to do like this. 30 centuries. No, 30 countries, I mean.
Yeah.
But this urge to go to a Bible college. Okay, first of all, I think Bible college is used more in the UK, right? It's like drama school, Bible college. Here it's more like
No.
acting school,
Bible
seminary.
college. No, it's Bible college.
It
Like
is?
it's called Bible college.
Oh.
Yeah. You
So
learn about the Bible.
why? To learn more about the Bible, or you just wanted to get that training? What was the urge? What was the
I don't fucking
intent
know. I just
behind-
think it was my surroundings. I just think it was my surroundings because as soon as I was out of that space, like I remember the summer I finally left church, I was working at a fish processing plant, and I ended up living out there for like 3 months on my own in a van,
Hmm.
and not going to church for months, which I used to go to church multiple times a week. And I finally went out there and I was at the cannery for 3 months, not going to church. And that kind of snapped me out of it. Just
But you asked me this question during the break, so I'm going to ask you this. Because you say whenever you are with your mom, you go to church during Christmas or Easter season, or on Christmas or Easter.
yeah.
So when you left church, you meant you left the faith, the tradition, or you left a local church because you didn't
The
find
church. We are the church. The community
capital
of
C?
Christ, the body of Christ, the people of Christ.
Sure.
We're his body and his hands and his feet. I
Thank-
left.
thank
I
you.
left.
Thank
I
you for
left.
reminding- And now where are you at? Whose hands and feet are you?
Man, I'm just here. I told you, like we are the universe experiencing itself. I've had my own spiritual experiences outside of Christianity. I just with breathing and all this stuff.
So do you think God only exists within the
I
Christian
am
walls?
no. I am much more of the dharmic. You know what dharmic means?
No, I know in English.
I know, but they don't know. That's what I'm saying. The dharmic.
Translate.
The dharmic, you can't really translate dharm in English. It means religion, but it doesn't mean religion because it's a Hindu concept.
Hindi version, dharmic, when we say a term, I don't speak Hindi, but I know.
Is dharm the
My
same?
friend,
Is
dharma
dharm-
means religion.
Is dharm the same?
Dharmic means religious. A
Is,
person who practices it.
is dharm the same in Hindu?
Mazhab. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. So dharm in Hinduism is a completely different concept than the stringent Abrahamic God. You go to hell. Like
So
very, very different. Very, 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 very different concept. It's just that when you translate the word dharm to English, the closest concept that you have is religion. Dharm kind of just means like the path within the multifaceted faith that you take. Like your dharm is your discipline that you choose, because what we know is the blanketed term Hinduism is actually dozens of different sects and groups that exist within a dharmic umbrella. There's Hinduism, there's Jainism, there's Buddhism, and Buddha was a Hindu before he became the Buddha.
It's a branch here.
Yeah, and so there's your dharma is your discipline, is the path you choose, because there's people that practice shakt, which is the focus on the divine feminism, divine feminine. There's people that they practice the wisdom of Kalima more. They look towards her for guidance as her archetype. For them is a guiding light. And then there's other people that love Ganesha ji, and then
Let me try to something came to my mind. So these figures are more like Catholic saints, because in Catholicism a lot of people would pray to the saints and they would say, "Oh, my saint is Saint Thomas." Somebody will say, "My saint is Saint Francis."
no.
Because Bhagavan, these Kalima is a Bhagavan, right?
Yeah.
But Bhagwan is a god, but
Bhagwan is God.
Bhagwan is God, but not the God, Ishwar. In Hindi language, Ishwar.
Uh-huh.
So there's a song you might,
Or
the song.
Shiva.
Shiva is also so they say Bhagwan ka avatar, which means a form of God.
Uh-huh.
So that's why this God is written with the small letter G.
Mm-hmm.
So Ishwar is the God, the
Uh-huh.
creator, and these are,
Well,
with
in
due
Catholicism,
respect,
well,
little
in
gods.
but in Catholicism, they wouldn't call the saints gods.
No,
And
no,
they
no, they
wouldn't
will not.
say
But I was trying
they when
to
they pray.
understand how to explain. Yeah. No, 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 no way. In Catholicism, there's one God.
They're like in Hinduism, it's many forms of God and his avatars, which is where the word avatar comes from. His
Avatar, yeah.
Yeah,
Avatar.
that's where the word
Yeah.
avatar.
Avatar, yeah.
Well, we say avatar because, as I said, it's spelled in Devanagari,
Yeah.
avatar. So in Hindi we say avatar, but we anyway Devanagari. But no, they like it's they say Kalima.
Bajrang
Is
Bali.
yeah.
Ganesh.
That this
Yeah.
avatar, the lessons from this avatar, this is what I want to follow. And or over here, you have Ganesha, or you have
Hanuman.
yeah. These lessons and this story and these things I want to follow. And it's not, no one is shamed or like, oh, this is bad or whatever. And you everybody gets like their own journey. Everybody gets their own journey out of whatever face of God resonates with them, because it's all the same God. God is one, which interestingly is um made India and by extension like that corner of the world quite, I guess, culturally quite egalitarian, like until colonizers came. But like that's kind of
It
what.
is egalitarian because there are female gods. Kali Ma is a
Yeah,
female.
and and she has like a necklace of skulls. I'm into that. I'm down. I love that shit. I love
There's
that
another
shit. A
female
necklace
god
of
too.
skulls, a necklace of
Which one is the
skulls,
other one?
and a leopard print skirt, a leopard skin skirt. Oh, such fierceness. Yeah. And one thing I actually really love too, about Hinduism is that the Hydra, the well, Hydra, they're both male and female, like people who are, I guess, what we would call in the West trans.
Hijra. Okay,
Hydra.
okay. That's even beyond the religion.
I know,
That's
but
more
they're
cultural.
considered emissaries of God, which I love because they're both masculine and feminine. But I view God in the more dharmic sense, where like he's not one physical fixed being, punishing you. I think um and that's very hard. I think it's very hard for people who've grown up in an Abrahamic structure of spirituality where God is a fixed thing and God is a thinking like physical thing in front of you to understand that, well, maybe the concept of God that like can exist in different ways. It's like I don't think it really exists in the Western sense, but I definitely think that there are energies, and that sounds very silly, that sounds very superstitious. I think there are things that we can experience in our own lives that we don't understand, and we can call it spirituality.
Yeah. I think it's also unless I hung around wrong people, I think a decade or so ago, people did not even know much about this concept of spirituality because the idea was, again, it's my perspective is based on a few towns and local churches of different denominations, mostly the Midwest. I think the idea was that it's all maybe satanic. When you think of spiritual practices, you think of something wrong, something. It was more religious. So if you have
It was more rigid,
Catholicism,
yeah.
you follow the liturgy. You
Like
just go
there are
to the mass.
Protestants who
That's
think
it.
Catholics are going to hell.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The church I mentioned, they were like, oh my,
And
they would
Catholics
cry.
think Protestants are
The
going
other
to
night,
hell.
yeah.
Like, and
So
Christians think Muslims are going to hell. And
Muslims thinks the same. Practicing, unless you, the guy you talked to, my friend, like,
yeah, like I think
They don't-
kind of the dharmic concept of like there is a divine source, maybe not divine as in like angels, but I think there's a, I don't know,
Supernatural out of
supernatural.
this world.
Is it supernatural, or just do we not understand what is natural?
Because see,
This
God
is the
is
thing.
not meant to be understood, and I
Yeah,
think
but
when
this
we
is the thing,
try,
like,
it's very limited what's common in the West.
is it supernatural, or is it just the natural that we can't measure or
It is the
understand? Do you know
natural.
what I
In
mean?
that case, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I hate
yeah.
this word, the supernatural. Like, there's
Yeah.
extra. I think there is a physical world, and I think there are parts of it that we can't see with the naked eye that we have yet to discover.
Mhm.
And some people call that God. Some people call that science, and I think we're just going to keep exploring it and
Some people call
discovering.
it the universe.
Yeah,
The
and
energy.
well, the energy, like, I left my body. I told you, I breathed into my chakras, and I floated away. No drugs, no shrooms, no weed, no nothing.
Kids don't do drugs.
Do drugs, it's fine.
No.
Um,
No. Okay.
but like I don't know if I like this sense the supernatural, but I think there is a natural world and a natural potential that we ourselves can be a part of. It's a part of nature, because if it's not natural, then why do we experience it? Why does it affect? Why does prayer, the act of prayer, anyone who prays, when they pray, there's a chemical reaction that happens in the brain.
Let's talk about prayer. Okay.
You know,
Right.
like what, like when people pray, when they're in a ceremony, whether they're Hindu, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Christian, whether they are voodoo, whatever you do, whenever you pray or do your ceremonies, like, there is a chemical reaction that happens in your body. That's natural.
Mhm.
That's not supernatural. That's you. That's happening to you. I think there's a part of maybe the natural world that maybe sometime we might discover, maybe sometime we won't. I don't think it's like this supernatural. I think it's just more to existence that we have yet to discover. And I think humans have named it in different ways, and they call it God, they call it this, but I think it's a part of existence that, maybe someday we'll discover, or maybe we won't. And maybe that's the point of life. Maybe just always the wondering that of this world that we can't see. I mean, there's the concept of dimensions, fifth dimension, fourth dimension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's these dimensions, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth dimensions that we can't see.
Mhm.
That's a part of the natural world. That's a natural phenomenon that we can't see. And maybe someday we will see these things. Maybe someday we will be connected to these other greater dimensions that, maybe we've tried to label as this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
And so